Boris Johnson had one of his book interviews yesterday, and as you can imagine, it was just a load of old twaddle. During the interview, he continues to keep his reputation alive and kicking by lying pretty much on every sentence. At one point, he does get quite angry when he's questioned on some of the stuff he's written, mainly about the apologising for partygate, because he doesn't want people to hear it, but he's quite happy to put it in his book that he regrets apologising for it, mainly because he still, to this day, thinks he didn't do anything wrong. He also keeps up his lies about Brexit and organised vote leave not to form a government, or how being outside the customs union meant that we could get the vaccines quicker. It's all just nonsense. He was supposed to have an interview with Laura Kuenssberg, but she had to cancel after apparently sending him the briefing notes, which was more like that it was always supposed to go to him and it was just her team that was accidentally copied in. He's also got an interview with LBC, but that's with Nick Ferrari, so he's just going to tickle his tummy. So I don't think we're actually going to get any decent journalists really asking the hard-hitting questions. ITV was alright, it wasn't too bad, but they didn't have any notes in front of him, so quite know how he managed to ask all these questions without having to refer to anything. I've clipped up some highlights for you, but the full interview is linked in the description if you want to watch the full thing.
It was a terribly, terribly difficult decision. And I came down in favour of coming out.
Millions of people put their faith in you, they believed in it, they believed what you said about it, and then it was chaos afterwards, as you acknowledge in your book. And you blame a lot of people for that. You blame David Cameron, you blame Theresa May later, you blame the EU. The one person you don't blame is you, and people will find that amazing. You told us that we should do this, and you hadn't devoted any serious thought to what came next.
Come on. So I wanted to win an argument, and I believed in freedom, and I believed that our country had a great, great future.
But you were the leader. You were leading us into this.
What I wasn't trying to do, and I don't think, and certainly what Michael Gove wasn't trying to do, we weren't trying to form the next government.
Why? He didn't believe it. What made you possibly think that would be the outcome?
Because every other European leader, when they hold referendums, decides, once the people have voted, decides what to do and stays in office. So it's not normal for the Prime Minister, having asked for a referendum vote, suddenly to evacuate the stage. Now, you're perfectly right that we me, Michael Gove, others, suddenly had an awful lot on our plate.
Do you accept that everyone watching this programme is poorer now as a result of Brexit and is likely to be poorer for the foreseeable future because of Brexit?
No, I certainly don't. And let me just
give you a statistic. To the Office of Budget Responsibility, the government's own, formerly your own financial watchdog, says that imports will be 15% down in the long-term future than they would have been, and exports, and that the size of our national economy will be 3.8% smaller. You're shaking your head, but these are the facts according to the Office of Budget Responsibility, which has now been looking at this for quite some time. That is an enormous sum of money. That is an enormous sum of money.
Can I just try and respond on Brexit and the type of Brexit that I wanted and why I still believe in it? Because when I was Prime Minister, we faced an appalling pandemic. And then, thanks to the genius of British scientists, we got some vaccines.
This was going to be the great freedom. We've done 71 trade deals. 68 of them were rollovers from the EU deals. The others are tiny. We still haven't done a deal with America. We haven't done a deal with China. We haven't done a deal with India. Where is this great world you promised us?
The India deal is coming down the track. The deals with America depend very much on what happens in the presidential elections. I'm sure you want to ask about. But if you look at the UK's economic performance since 2016, it compares very favourably with other countries that are still in the EU. And the key thing about Brexit now is to take advantage of those freedoms.
Well, in terms, you basically say, it wasn't a big deal. I regret apologising. Is that really your position?
No,
that you regret apologising?
No.
That is what you say in the book.
Well, let me explain what I said, because if you look at Unleashed, as I say, there's plenty.
I've read it. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it says. That it was basically a load of nonsense, and you regret apologising. Do you regret apologising to the Queen?
Let me give you my own.
Answer that. Do you regret apologising to the Queen?
Let me give you my own view.
Well, if you answer my question, let's then perhaps go on to have your view. Do you regret apologising to the Queen?
Look, I don't discuss my conversations with the Queen.
That wasn't my question. My question was, do you regret apologising to the Queen?
Let me explain what I meant by that observation, because it's very, very important. If you read the book, you'll see there's plenty of ways in which I deeply recriminate myself for things I got wrong. And I blame myself in all sorts of ways and for mistakes I made. But what I was trying to say there was, I think that the blanket apology, the sort of apology I issued right at the beginning, I think the trouble with it was that afterwards, all the accusations that then rained down on officials who'd been working very hard in Number 10 and elsewhere were thought to be true.
The rules have only just been adjusted after the first lockdown to say that you can only meet one person outside. But this is at a time where people are not being able to go to hospital to say goodbye to their dying relatives. People are dying alone. People are not allowed to go to funerals. People are agonisingly observe the rules. You have told us that people will die if we don't observe the rules.
Yes.
And here is your private secretary writing to over 100 people, inviting them to a party in the Downing Street garden.
Sorry, hang on a second.
People can't understand why you wouldn't be paralytically apologetic about that.
Because I was at the time. If you remember what happened.
But now you're saying, it wasn't a big deal. I shouldn't have apologised.
Well, if you look at the reason the Downing Street garden was used was because it was thought to be a much safer environment, and we had to maintain distancing. But look. We
were in this newsroom with arrows saying walk round this way.
And so were we.
We were outside.
So were we.
Agonisingly sticking with one person. Well, you weren't. You were inviting 100 people to the garden. It's madness.
But that was outside. I really don't think that those officials thought that they were setting out to break the rules.
But they were breaking the rules.
They thought that they were doing something. They were working round the clock. And they thought they were within the framework.
But they were repeatedly found to be breaking the rules by the police.
I don't know.
We saw members of your staff laughing on a video about breaking the rules. The reason I'm pressing this is that I just know there were people watching this programme who are really upset with you, and they want to know that you understand.
Of course I understand it, and you can't say that I haven't been exposed to over the last few years to the full force of people's anger and indignation.
I've got to press this. There were stories of drunkenness, physical altercations, and I'm like, I can't.
There were stories, Tom, where those stories substantiated. I can only give you my honest opinion of it all now, right? Who investigated this thing? Why don't you tell our viewers who investigated it?
I don't want to go down the avenue. It was Sue Gray.
And just to remind our viewers who Sue Gray is.
Sue Gray is a leading civil servant.
What post does she currently hold?
We're not going down this road.
Why not?
Called more or less the sort of official biographer of prime ministers, says you're the worst prime minister in British history. In the whole of history, I mean, arguably from when the office was reformed after Lloyd George, but that was the allegation, worse than Truss, worse than anyone. What do you say to that?
Well, I think I don't know this guy very well, but I think that's complete nonsense. I think that you will find a pretty extraordinary story that we packed in to 3 years.
Whilst Johnson is plugging his new book to keep the money flowing in, unfortunately for Jonathan Gullis, it's not been so easy finding a job after leaving Parliament. And if you want to know why, well, you need to watch the videos on screen now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.